Here for a fair and balanced debate, Communications Director for American Crossroads, Ian Prior, and radio show host Garland Nixon. Thank you both for joining us. Garland, I want to start with you. What was your takeaway from last night? We heard both Senator and the Governor hitting the former Secretary of State pretty hard, but we really didn't hear her pull too many punches on either of those candidates.
Interestingly enough, my take was this was a result of the Benghazi hearings. I do a radio talk show, and it's very left-leaning, and from what I've been hearing from my callers, I think the Benghazi hearings consolidate Secretary Clinton's power within the party. I think it was a great help to her, and I think that her opponents now have to kind of dig in a little harder, have to try to differentiate themselves, because after the Benghazi hearings, her numbers started to skyrocket.
Ian, what do you think? Do you think that the former secretary was empowered before last night's forum?
No, I think quite the opposite exactly here. The bottom line with Hillary Clinton, when she's at her most comfortable, that's when she's at her worst. And I think after the Benghazi hearing, after Biden getting out, I think she got comfortable. And what you saw was she had a major gaffe when she went out there and said that the VA situation is far overblown and it's just a Republican talking point. And we see more news coming out that it's even worse than assumed. So I don't think that Hillary Clinton did herself any favors with the Benghazi hearing. In fact, I think she hurt herself, and you see that from polls where she's running basically even with several of the Republican candidates in the field.
I want to ask you, and Ian, I want to stay with you. Now, there was no crosstalk. This was a forum. It wasn't necessarily a debate. The debate's going to be November 14th between these Democratic candidates. But does this change the landscape? We haven't seen the other two candidates hit her so aggressively. So what's going to change now looking forward?
I do think it's interesting. It is about time that they started going after Hillary on her record. I mean, she's flip-flopped on everything from Wall Street to campaign finance to the Keystone Pipeline. I mean, look at Wall Street. She's out there talking about how she's going to get tough on Wall Street. Back in 2005, there was a Senate Republican bill to rein in Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. That might have stopped the housing crisis. Hillary Clinton voted no. So for someone who's going to be tough on Wall Street, I think she has to go look back at her own record and who's funding her campaign, and she has some explaining to do. And hopefully Sanders and O'Malley are able to get her to explain that on the campaign trail, because thus far she hasn't.
All right, Garland, agree or disagree that she's been flip-flopping on all these issues?
I disagree. I think Hillary has been coasting when she can, which is wise. If you're in the front, if you're the leader, you really don't want to punch down. But I think Hillary has drifted significantly in comparison to some of her policies in the past, and I think that's making it more difficult for her adversaries, as it were, in this instance, to differentiate themselves. As we get closer to voting time, they have to show how they're different than Hillary, or they have no chance. No chance to beat her,
okay,
or even compete.
I want to hit on one more topic before we wrap this up, and Ian, I want to go to you. We just heard from Leland about the non-disclosure agreement that Secretary Clinton signed in 2009. We didn't see that get brought up last night, but is it going to be brought up?
Oh, absolutely. And there was another report from Fox a couple of weeks ago talking about how they're investigating Hillary Clinton under Section 793F of the Espionage Act. And that doesn't require that she negligently handles or intentionally handles classified information. It requires that she's grossly negligent handling national security information. So all this talk about whether it's classified or marked classified, that's a red herring put out there by the Clinton campaign and her lawyers. She's in a lot more trouble than they're letting on.
Right. Okay, well, Ian Prior, Garland Nixon, thank you both for joining me. Garland, you didn't get the last word, but I promise you the next time you are on, you will.
Thank you
so much.
See you soon.